You're listening to Music Tectonics.
Welcome back to Music Tectonics, where we go beneath the surface of music and tech. I'm your host, Dmitri Vietze. I'm the CEO and founder of Rock, Paper, Scissors, the music tech PR firm. And we're spending these couple of weeks on Music Tectonics focused on some of the things that we think are helpful and interesting when we're all stuck at home, working from home, making music from home, raising children from home, doing remote work, remote music collaboration, live streaming concerts, all the things that we're thinking about now that we're stuck, isolated, locked down. And I am including several episodes with people who know a little something about working remotely with other musicians. And today I've got with me the two co-founders, the CEO and COO of SoundStorming, Arno Bosch and Alicia Rios Boadas. How are you guys doing?
Very good, thank you.
Good. How are you doing, Dmitri?
I'm doing well. Where are you guys calling in from?
Culver City. Yeah.
Yeah, Los Angeles.
Awesome. How are things going out there? Is it crazy? Is it quiet? Is it crowded? Is it
Another day.
I mean, our neighborhood is pretty quiet, and we have a garden, so we're using our out patio like never before. So It's a good thing, I guess.
Yeah, and we have a kid, so that's a challenging part to keep her entertained. But so far, so good. She loves spending time with us, and same here.
Yeah. No, it's really interesting that when it's like art in music, when you say, okay, you're not allowed to use this feature, this characteristic, what's going to happen? The creativity that comes from that's actually super interesting.
Totally.
And in life, it feels a little bit like in this moment, you start to say, okay, well, what am I grateful for that I have been forgetting or not paying attention to? So your garden is a great example of that. And I hope we can bring some of that into this conversation about remote collaboration and how, as an industry, as artists, how we can be thinking about that. So I'm going to dive in and you guys have an app called SoundStorming. Why don't you just tell us what it is?
Sure. So SoundStorming is a free social music platform where musicians, songwriters, or artists of any kind, like music makers, DJs, singers, can connect, can collaborate, and promote their talent by sharing their in-progress musical ideas with a global community.
Okay, and this is available only as an app?
That's right.
Right now, it's only available as an app in the United States, although in the next month, we hope to open it internationally. And just for iOS for now.
Right, okay. So we'll walk through a little bit about how it works so people understand what that means, what you just said. But let's start, how did you come up with the idea for this?
So I started playing guitar when I was probably 8 years old. I did 8 years of a Spanish classic guitar, and I realized pretty quick that I was not going to be successful in the music career. And I locked my guitar and I pursue my marketing and advertising, which is what I've been doing for 15 years. But through my job, I actually lived in different countries. And every time that I'm moving into a new city, I was using music to connect with new people and really jam over the weekend. We were recording voice memos and struggling sharing it over messages and emails and Dropbox. And that was the beginning of my obsession and trying to understand what is the creative process of any music maker or any musician or artist, and what are the tools that they are used, what are the platforms and that they use to connect with their audiences and with other musicians. And that was, I believe, the seed of SoundStorming. Obviously, fast forward, I started learning and I saw that not just amateur people like myself and the people that I was jamming, this behavior of recording ideas as the first step on the creative process, it was on every level musician, from top really renowned artists, celebrity level, to really producers, music makers who are making a living out of this, to actually amateurs like myself. And that's how everything started to building this platform.
Got it. Okay, cool. Sounds great. So you saw the need and started to build this. And Alicia, you gave us a general idea of what SoundStorming is, but let's walk through the workflow of how it works for an artist. So first you record a snippet from the phone app, is that right?
Yeah, kind of. So the first thing when you open the app, you land in the discovery page where you have all these artists that you're not following. So it's to get inspiration. You just start scrolling, playing some sounds, and let's say that, oh, there is I just got some inspiration. I feel inspired. And then you have the hit record button. So you click hit and you can start recording on your phone, directly from your phone. or you can plug it in an audio line in from your computer, amp, or keyboard to get an even better sound. Once you finish recording, you have the options to make your song private or public. And the app allows you to organize all your song ideas with hashtags, and you can even customize each sound with a photo. So at the end of the day, if you have just the app for yourselves to use it, as a better way to have all your song ideas organized, or you can make the sound public. And let's not forget that SoundStorming is a social platform. So you can like other people's song ideas, you can comment on them, you can follow new artists. And let's say that if you find an artist song that you really like, you can hit the button collaborate, and suddenly you start recording on top of that song idea. So you start building up another layer. And this is how you collaborate. It's very simple to use.
But you're saying the first interaction isn't so much to just open up the app and record something. It's really to look at other things and record something with somebody else's snippet or track in mind, and then at some point, if you decide that it's serious enough, you're hot enough on that track that you could actually do the collaboration piece. So, but the inspiration is actually somebody else's track first.
Yeah, a lot of people is like, think about, I'm a photographer. That's how I make a living, or I used to make a living. Now I'm with SoundStorming full time. But before I start creating, I always do some research. I look at other people's work. I get inspiration. I look for colors, composition. So musicians do the same. It's like, okay, I want to create, but sometimes you don't know what. So you just get into the mood. And by seeing other people creating, suddenly you start feeling that motivation, that inspiration. Is like, okay, I hit record. But of course, there is many people, after talking to hundreds of our users, some people have a real clear idea, like, oh, I have this moment of inspiration by walking or driving, and then you stop and you want to record that to have it for come back to it later on. But a lot of people likes to just see what other people are doing.
Gotcha. So you mentioned you can do this collaboration piece directly in the app. If I have a track in there and then you record something over it, you hit collaborate, do I get a notification, like a request, or do I get to hear how our tracks sound together? What happens then?
So you're going to get a notification that somebody has collaborated with you, and you're going to go and listen to that new collaboration. Plan of our future features is that people will be able to allow people to collaborate, or just you're going to have it public, but no collaborations will be allowed. But this is down the line. Now we are really putting a lot of effort to open up the creative process and make sure that we all collaborate and we all share ideas, and it's open to anybody.
Got it. So what other features are unique to SoundStorming? Is there other things you can tell me that kind of fleshes out what this feels like?
Sure. So there's other features. For example, right now, SoundStorming, you are allowed to record up to 1 minute. And this was from the inside of, when you have a song idea, normally it's like a few seconds, a minute something. So we decided that 1 minute will be the perfect, just to make sure it's not about recording full tracks, that it's just about these snippets, these bits and pieces, something that makes it's very approachable for any level, artist level. So that's what we wanted to have, something very easy to accomplish, a minute. But down the line, we hope to have longer recordings. Of course, we are talking to make private groups as well, and make the discovery page even more social, give more inspiration. So we have lots and lots of ideas, but we're just taking one idea at a time and make sure that what we have works.
I think to add to that, I think that the uniqueness of our platform is that, as you know, all the social platforms out there are about videos and GIFs and images. Our platform is not about lifestyle bits and pieces or dances. It's actually just taking the behavior that any musician is recording ideas and focus on the raw talent and the real talent of artists, and I actually open that creative process for new connections between artists and new collaborations between different genres and new sounds. So I believe that that's kind of the uniqueness that we have in comparison to other social platforms out there.
Gotcha. So it sounds almost to me like this is what would come out if SoundCloud and GarageBand had a one-night stand. Would that be an accurate description?
It's a great way to look at it. I would probably, if I have if I have to push back, I would say probably it's between voice memos and TikTok. If they had a one night stand, I think that it's more giving the tools that artists already are using. We're not artists to do anything differently. I think that on one of the conferences that I went on, your last Music Tectonics, it was about basically
about social video, or
no, it was the social platforms that musicians are using are not really showing up. Artists are not showing up on those platforms, so you have to find other channels. And the reason is because we created a social media based on lifestyle, images, and things that are not really based on music. We actually took the completely different approach. We are looking into the behaviors that musicians are using and the way that they connect and they share their ideas. And we created a social platform around it, like a TikTok per se, a simple way that you can share, you can actually add on it and build up and open that process for other people to see it, like, comment, and really keep building on that. So that I think that's why the comparison between voice memos and TikTok is kind of more appropriate for what we're doing here.
I get that. That's cool. Not the video, but the social aspect. It has that
That's
kind
right.
of social
Exactly.
social content stickiness.
That's exactly right.
Yes, and I wanted to add one thing that makes SoundStorming very unique. It's about going back to the opening up the creative process, is that it leads to real artist-fan relationship, because like other platforms, people just post their videos and songs, and people like and comment, but actually in our platform, like an artist, like celebrity level, let's say, can put a song and allow their fans to collaborate directly with him. And that's something that we have never seen before. And that's really key to build this artist fan engagement and also to discover new artists.
Oh, well, yeah, that's a whole other aspect that I hadn't thought about. I was going to ask sort of about what the social aspects are, but you're saying it's the artist-fan relationship all of a sudden shifts because it's really artist-collaborator relationship.
So everything, I mean, if I can give you a little bit of more background and how the whole idea of Discovery came about, in the last 4 years, I've been a creative director helping Apple, and I was challenged by helping Apple to promote these new upcoming artists who obviously are top-tier artists. And even those top tier artists that are not about to release an album, that are not about to go on tour, what do you do to engage with your audience? You literally create new types of content. You create music videos, you create interviews, you create documentaries. You are actually forcing to dump more money and create other type of content to really bring audience to actually enjoy the content that an artist is doing, which is music. So if you turn that into the social means a daily consumption. What fans want to see is every 10 minutes, I want something new. I want something fresh. What is happening tomorrow? What about the day after? And musicians, their process, it takes time to create a song. It takes a long time to create an album. So probably they go quiet on those social platforms for quite a bit of time, and they just share pictures of their fancy cars, their fancy dresses, and their holidays and families, and it's not really based on music. So by focusing on what they do, again, they are really utilizing their phones as a recorder and keeping track on their process and sharing with the people that they work with. If we suddenly take the audience that is at the end of the funnel of the distribution and bring them on the creative process, you're opening doors to us, as like Alicia was saying, you're actually giving them the tools to engage with the audience in a completely different way. So like asking them to collaborate, or asking them to submit, or asking them to, what do you think about this, and what do you turn into that? And it opens a whole other world of discovering talent and empowering each other.
So you've built it for this potential collaboration, getting feedback from fans, getting collaboration from fans, building as you go instead of going to be isolated somewhere without a social aspect and finishing it in hope that somebody likes it. What kinds of things are you seeing happening on the platform? Are you seeing... I mean, I know it's early, but are you starting to see that level of, hey, somebody who thought of themselves more as a fan is engaging and creating with somebody who thought of themselves as a professional musician? Or are you seeing bands being formed? Just give us some examples.
Right. So I think that is the first early stages. We launched a month and a half ago, official launch. But even just even previous stages when we were doing the MVP, even myself, I remember recording a blues progression, and suddenly the next day I woke up with a notification, and there was a girl who I've never met who recorded a flute on top of my blues, and I was like, what is this? Like I wasn't really envisioning my blues take that kind of a turn and actually open my mind in another way that I wasn't really looking into that track. So now that it's released, now that we have started getting traction from users, you see that happening more often. You see people commenting like, oh, I didn't know that, give me more, share that. And really, just by opening yourself, your mind is open to another ways of looking into your sound and your approach as an artist. So that's the first step. Then through the launch, we did a launch, we already discovered a really incredible talented artist from Denver who's a rapper. His name is Ghost the Kid, and we actually we discovered him through an idea that he submitted on our platform. We took him, we sat him with top producers, ended up developing a really incredible track called Sideways that actually is available on all streaming services to listen. And that's another example how you can take just an idea and really see the potential of it, and just by putting it in the right place farther down the line, you can actually have really incredible songs. And even in the next coming weeks, we will release some articles about a 16-year-old producer named Boone, who released his new EP last week. He actually met through SoundStorming a rapper named Frico, and they send some 1-minute recordings. They start collaborating. We were actually following and seeing that coming alive together. Exactly a month later, I just got an email. He released the EP, and one of the tracks is actually the track that Boone and Frico collaborated together, and they took the idea and developed into a proper, more about developing tracks software, and it's actually available on streaming services right now. So you can start seeing how the platform is proving that by focusing on the talent and taking out anything that it's about the lifestyle and the persona and making more about music, it actually has some potential. Just by the early stages of our platform, we already discover a variety of artists and a variety of producers. So we're really excited about the potential of this platform.
So that's cool. So in one case, it sounded like almost like an A&R role that SoundStorming could play, where somebody like you or maybe somebody from a third party could be keeping an eye on stuff that's growing and then connect that artist with some additional resources. In the case of the first artist, and the second one was more of a collaboration that just kind of formed there, but then they took it out of SoundStorming to produce a more robust, professionally produced track. Is that right?
That's exactly right. I think the first step for us is helping these upcoming artists, the next generation of musicians who are entering in the music industry, who need the connections, who need to collaborate, who need to open the sound, discover their own sound, their tone, and we're helping to create this by putting them on a same platform. The next step is bringing top professional musicians and help them to really use those music moments to promote their career. And as you mentioned, we can actually open that process to A&R artist development companies and really help them to find what kind of artists are they looking into. Are you looking into EDM? Are you looking into a rapper, a singer? We can actually have a database that we hopefully will open up those doors to those kind of companies and help artists that come from our platform to get into the music industry and take the next steps farther down the line. So you're exactly right. I think that's the final approach that we're looking into.
It's interesting because this kind of cracking open the creative process with the opportunity for collaboration, or the social aspect where basically you're getting a window into the process, all of a sudden creates these other opportunities that were really tough to do in a traditional music setting, where people are not necessarily revealing their process every step along the way. And
that's exactly right. Yeah.
And it has my mind going about both the opportunities for creativity, like your example with your blues riff, where all of a sudden somebody else does something that you never would have thought of, and all of a sudden you're thinking about something you've created in a totally new light. So that's one interesting use case where an artist, it's not just that artist that got inspired, but you got inspired by their kind of iteration or variation or layering on yours. So that's one. Then just the opportunity to see what's happening as it unfolds. There's an A&R opportunity, and then there's the collaborations that actually lead to something else, a third opportunity. So just the fact that you've kind of made it a social conversation or a collaborative unfolding leads to all these new things that are just really tough to do if you're in a room by yourself.
Right. And we've seen it before, like seen that video of a guy basking in front of a store, and suddenly a worker and he's playing the guitar, and a worker comes by and start rapping. They don't know each other, but they are musicians, and suddenly it turns into something that we all follow on YouTube and like, and we're enjoying that amazing creation that happens spontaneously. So by creating a platform that you actually sharing those moments, it opens those doors. And the same, if you take it further, we've seen that video from Pharrell Williams, who goes into the music school and discover this incredible young talent that just sharing the bits of a working song that she's working on suddenly catapults her into a new journey.
Right.
So basically opening that thing that all artists have those ideas on their phones, we're just showing them the potential they have in their pocket, and try to utilize that as infinite ways to actually bring audience together, next opportunities for the music industry, as well as new genres and new sound that will come out of that.
Yeah, and I wanted to add something quickly here about about SoundStorming potential, and we are here to empower the next generation of musicians. And one thing that's happening through SoundStorming that a lot of young artists told us is about how much they feel empowered through our platform, because there's a lot of artists like amateurs, people who's starting, that they don't have many options, because the options you have are streaming services to where you share your final product, and a lot of artists, they don't have that, so they keep those like song ideas on their phones. They don't share it, and suddenly they start feeling that there is an outlet for them to share those music in progress. They put it out there, they get good feedback, people collaborate with them, and something they thought that might not be good enough or not enough polished, suddenly somebody gives it another turn. They feel validated, they feel empowered, they get really good feedback, they get support from other artists, and they feel more confident. And that's what we need for the future generation: more confidence, that they feel comfortable sharing, that sharing and collaborating is going to take the music industry farther.
Got it. Yeah, I'm curious. I think I'm starting to get a sense of the answer to this question, but I'm curious if you think overall you'll be attracting users who have released music before, or more newcomers who are kind of leaning in that direction for the first time, but maybe either didn't have the motivation or the place, or the full enough studio experience to go further.
I think that the first step is definitely these newcomers and this new talent who's looking into new ways to engage and find new audience and be discovered and be heard, and they're completely open to try new things and new ways. But on the long run, as I was mentioning, there's a huge potential for really established producers, singers, artists. Like, I believe that right now, the way we're seeing the way they engage with their audiences, the way they produce their tracks, is posting a cover and posting like the poster of their upcoming live event or performance, utilizing our platform. Once we go down the line and it's big enough and it has all the features, we will serve them as a tool to use those ideas as a marketing tool. Instead of actually sharing a cover of the album that you're going to release next week, you can actually share the idea that where the one of the songs came from. Or you can actually record a version that you're playing on your backyard and being like, I can't wait to release this final album tomorrow next for all my fans. And the same for the performing side. Before you go on upstage, you can see artists posting on Instagram posters and images and saying, fans, I can wait. What? I'm sure that they're gonna be in the hotel, lock themselves, playing a guitar or singing. So why don't you use that music moment, put it on SoundStorming, and really tell your audience, I can't wait to play this in front of you all, and really use music to engage with your audience and your fans. So I think that the first step is definitely on upcoming musicians, but the farther down the line, there's a huge potential as a marketing tool.
Cool. So I'm curious. I mean, since we're talking about creativity here and how this leans into creativity, have you seen any totally unexpected use cases yet?
I mean, there's again, the twists and turns of the ideas and collaborations in the platform is what really excites me the most. Every time that I go into the platform and I see a rapper who's I've been following him, and I see the latest idea of traditional hip hop, and suddenly there's this acoustic quiet singer songwriter who drops a lick on it, and suddenly it turns into a completely different thing. Those are the unexpected cases that we're seeing. But the more, I believe, the more we develop the platform, the more we give the tools to really utilize those ideas properly, like private groups or longer recordings, or be able to decide if you want to open your collaboration for 24 hours or open collaboration to just the first 24 users who want to collaborate. We're going to start seeing more and more and expecting cases. That is what really gets us excited for the future.
Yeah, but I would say that Boon and Frico, like the feature, that's for us like one of the biggest and unexpected use cases because that really proves that what we're doing, it's working. And of course, because you see something that started in SoundStorming is now out there in streaming services, and without SoundStorming, that wouldn't be happening. So that's for us. Wow, yeah, let's keep doing what we're doing.
So we're all stuck at home. We're all isolated, quarantined, and you've got this new collaboration app. Are you seeing interest, unexpected interest, more interest as a result of what's happening in the world right now?
Yeah, absolutely. We've always promoted SoundStorming as the perfect tool to collaborate remotely. That's how actually Arnau, as he said, came up with the idea, because there was always a lot of issues on how you collaborate seamlessly with other artists. And of course, we're seeing more people spending like a lot of time, especially in the discovery page. So there's a lot of people looking for inspiration, recording a lot of song ideas for themselves just to have them. There is a lot of people can right now can meet, like there is bands, there is bandmates, friends that you just can meet. So what do? You just drop your song and then let them know that it's out there so they can collaborate. So it's definitely picking up thanks to this social distancing. It's working for them very well.
Right, and looking into, I obviously spending a lot of time on these streamings, live streaming performances on Instagram and bands in town and different platforms, and I start seeing like Mike Shinoda did one asking artists to submit ideas, post it on SoundCloud, share me the link on this email, and then I might take it, and then I'm gonna do another session. So they are definitely this, as you mentioned before, Dmitri, these moments that are forcing us to be more creative and find new ways. We actually feel a pretty interesting gap there, and that's what we're focusing right now, pushing out in different artists, encouraging them to show up on our platform, share your ideas. You will get some feedback, some collaboration, some comments, and as soon as you start seeing that happening, you understand the power that you have, and it opens a world that you weren't seeing before. And adding to that, just to mention, there's obviously, we're talking about sharing ideas, sharing creativity. One of the things that all artists are concerned is about rights. So just to make sure that people know, we have a feature that automatically creates a timestamp on any creation inside of our platform. So it protects they own 100%, and it protects them for any copyright infringement if it happens down the line. So we want to make sure that it's a platform to help artists, and we're not taking any cut on their creations.
Wait, can you explain that? There's a way that you're actually tracking who the rights owner is in the composition when it gets uploaded to your platform?
That's right. There's a back end. There's a back end, and we can track who's the creator and when was created, and we want to protect, they own 100%, and we don't want any of the rights.
Yeah, but right now, because our app is just about the collaboration and it's very simple. So let's say this is a question that we get all the time. So if Arnau records a guitar and then I sing on top, he owns 100% of the rights of the guitar, and I own 100% of the rights of my vocals. But if you guys want to, we're going to meet outside of the platform and develop it further, make a track and put it out there, then there is plenty of platforms that helps you with this, with the split. But in our platform, it's just you own your own creation. And again, all your creations get a timestamp. So we know who created what first, and you are protected in that regard.
That makes sense. Well, that's cool that you're thinking that far down the line. Sometimes as a startup, it's hard to think through all the future legal situations that could occur as a result. So you've obviously studied up. So, a lot of our listeners are in the music tech world as founders and startups themselves. What else are you doing right now to get SoundStorming off the ground?
We are actually in conversations with influencers, people who are actually using Instagram and other platforms as a way to be heard and a way to engage with their audience, no matter the size of them. And we're starting to create a little bit of a post and content inside of our platform, and utilizing those platforms like Instagram to show where are your creation, and trying to bring more attention to our platform. So we're working in focusing on bringing more attention and bringing more users to our platform through collaborations with artists. We're in conversation with brands as well, music brands who are helping artists, who are helping not just collaboration remotely, but actually have some kind of a way of a product that are helping artists to record themselves, or networks that are bringing artists together. We're in conversations to try to do a little bit of a collaboration and expand our network together with them. So we're pushing on that end.
And also, we are partnering with other music schools here in Los Angeles that help us take SoundStorming to their students, because, as you know, all schools are closed, so they have to keep working on their subjects and keep creating music. So SoundStorming is a tool that they're using to bounce ideas back and forth and get some feedback, etc. So it's part of something that we're doing, working with schools to make sure that students keep creating and collaborating.
Had you expected to work with schools before COVID-19, or is that something that emerged with this crisis?
No, we've been working with some of them way before this happened, because the coronavirus crisis has helped SoundStorming to get more attention, as people is looking for new ways to collaborate remotely. So you search for SoundStorming, there is magazines and blogs that talk about us. But definitely, we always saw it as a perfect tool for kids to keep working, collaborating outside the classroom, and especially to open up their circles, because we know that you go to school, you just are with the same people all the time. But part of SoundStorming is making sure that people can collaborate with anybody around the world. And that's how we're going to get all those unexpected turns. And we might discover new genres, crazy and amazing collaborations. So the remote aspect was always for us a big thing that we wanted to promote and exploit since day one.
As well as for teachers, like we did a different focus group with different music schools prior, obviously way back before all this happened, and you can see that teachers give lessons and then they give some homework to do at home and practice and do some things. So suddenly giving them an easy way, not really fully recording, fully produced, actually just ideas, it allows the teacher to keep track with other students during the time that they are not together in the room, so right in the class. So right now, with the virus and being apart, it's actually something that it works constantly. They can utilize it on a daily basis.
That's interesting. Yeah, as a father of an 11-year-old taking drum lessons, I could see where, hey, you should practice every day is one thing, and then another thing is you should practice every day and post it somewhere so I can actually hear that you're doing it and maybe even give you some feedback. It's a pretty cool, very cool concept. I like it.
Yeah. And actually, because I'm learning myself, I'm learning the harmonica. It really helps to track my progress. Like, I'm getting better and better at it, So,
it's like the before and after shots when you're trying to lose weight, right?
Yes,
exactly. And at the same time, it's hard to learn an instrument. It's really hard. As soon as it's great to step on the room and commit to it, but do it in a day every day. It's actually really hard. So having people who suddenly record on top of something that you just didn't really care much about, suddenly it makes you want to go back and perfect it and do it again, and gives you new ideas. So I think that encourages any artist, is encouraging other artists, and I think that that's something that it's actually really valuable too.
Cool. So our audience are record labels, managers, other startup founders, artists that are interested in innovative tech, everyone in the B2B services for music tech and streaming and video and all this stuff. If they want to try this out, what do you recommend they do? If they want to try out SoundStorming, how should they approach it?
So the first thing is that they have to go to the Apple Store, search for SoundStorming, download the app, and of course you create your profile, and then just go discover other artists and follow them, like their music, comment, just start this encouraging process and just put your songs out there. You're going to be surprised about things you never thought were good enough, or something that people really like it and they helping you develop it further. So just download the app and try it out. It's super simple to use and super simple to, start.
And you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and we're starting to utilize those channels to promote the talent that we see inside of the platform, the collaborations that we see inside of the platform, so you can keep track on the newest things and ideas that are happening inside.
And you guys have been very engaged in the music Tectonics community. I'm trying to remember whether I met you via LinkedIn or the podcast. I feel like you heard the podcast.
I heard the podcast and I contacted you on LinkedIn because you mentioned in the podcast. If you want to know more and you want to talk with me, link on LinkedIn and Twitter, and that's what I did, and we start talking.
And then you came to Music Tectonics. We met up. Where were
What a
we?
stalker!
What conference were we at recently where we met up in person?
We met in the
NAM.
Capital
Oh,
Royale.
yeah, that's right.
I think we went in the
NAM.
Capital
Oh, NAM.
Royale.
That's
We
what it
went in
was.
the
NAM. Yeah.
NAM too.
Mhm.
So it's a
Yeah.
full.
I mean,
this is one of our first full circle stories with Music Tectonics, the podcast, going from there to LinkedIn to
Exactly.
NAM, and
Yes.
then we're doing PR with you guys, which is great as well. Love what you're doing. So thanks for all the support, you guys, and stay safe out there. Arno Bosch and Alicia Rios Boadas from SoundStorming. Thanks so much for joining the podcast.
Thanks
for
so
having
much,
us.
Dimitri, for having us. Yeah, really exciting. Appreciate
Okay,
it.
wash your hands. Let's find some 20-second songs on SoundStorming so we can wash our hands really well.
There you go.
Good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And thank you for joining Music Tectonics podcast. You can find out about every episode we're doing on remote education, remote collaboration, live streaming, everything that's going on. We're putting out tons of episodes by hitting subscribe right now on your favorite podcast app. And go to musictectonics.com, sign up for our newsletter so you can keep up with weekly Webs Day. Every Wednesday in April and possibly beyond at 12 p.m. noon, we're doing online meetups. You'll find out about our conference, October 27th to 28th in Los Angeles, and anything else that we're doing as we continue to work remotely or when we can finally meet in person. Thanks for staying tuned. We'll have more for you soon.
You're listening to Music Tectonics.